Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Forth, and today I'm talking about success strategies for your online classes. And this can actually be challenging. One of the things that's so great about online classes is the flexibility that it gives us. So you can do your classwork anytime you choose, and it works great to fit in with work and family responsibilities. But it's kind of a double-edged sword, so to speak, because in an on-campus class, you have that assigned class time where you have to attend, and it kind of gives you a little bit of discipline about the class activities. You don't have that in the online class. So that's one of the challenges you face. We're going to talk about some ways to stay motivated and do your very best in the online classes. There is a tendency with these online classes to kind of put off things and wait until the last minute, and then you have a whole bunch of stuff to catch up on. Well, that makes it really challenging. And a lot of the online classes that I actually teach, we have assignments due each week. And I think that's a good thing because that way you can't put everything off until the last minute. The best suggestion for online class success, in my opinion, is create some kind of a structured schedule for yourself. Sit down at whatever time you choose and create class time where you go over your PowerPoints, listen to any recordings that your faculty has given, work on your classwork. So that way you have consistent work on the class materials. Even if you don't have assignments due every week, it's certainly better to work on the materials every week so that you can actually assimilate that information. The vast majority of classes, you're not going to find it successful to look over everything at the last minute and cram it all into your brain before the test. You might think you're saving all kinds of time, but it's confusing and you're not really retaining the information. So I would create some kind of class time for yourself. The other thing is with the online classes, what I notice a lot of my students doing is rather than sitting down and listening to the recording of the lecture that I've placed or looking at their PowerPoints or doing the readings in the textbook, they just immediately try and do all of the assignments. And you might be able to do that for some of the things, but then it inevitably shows that there's a problem when it's time for quizzes and exams because how much do you really learn by not doing any of the readings, not listening to the lecture, and just sitting down and powering through the assignments? So make sure that you actually look at the lectures if they're posted as a recording or the PowerPoints and do your class readings. If you just kind of go through the assignments, you might do okay for the grades on the assignments, but quiz and exam is going to reveal you didn't actually really learn the material. So make sure that you do that. Managing your time is going to be very important. As I've said, I recommend setting aside time to do classwork consistently. Time management is going to be even more important as an online student because you don't have some kind of structure of an assigned lecture time. So make sure that you're really on top of keeping your schedule. If you want my free time management guide, I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the description, and you can access that, and there'll be good information for you. You can also create a study group with your peers. Now, if it's an online class at a school where you're not anywhere close to campus, you might not actually meet any of your classmates. But very often these online classes have discussion posts. And I think there's some kind of thought process behind people that design curriculum that discussion posts help to create community for online classes. And to some extent, that's true because at least for the classes that I teach that have discussion posts, you're required to respond to your classmates' posts as well. So that's a great opportunity to see what kind of information your classmates are posting and perhaps introduce yourself and create a study group. Now, it doesn't have to be an in-person study group, obviously. Zoom and WebEx are wonderful tools, and you could just create, a weekly touch base time. And just like you would do with a regular study group, divide the information and make each person responsible for preparing things for that portion of the information. You can also create like a group text where you can share questions and answers. Create an online drive, Google or Dropbox. There's all kinds of online drive options where you can share resources. Those are great ways to help with your studies and to connect with your classmates. There are great instructional videos online for just about any topic that you can think of. I really like the crash course videos. I teach a lot in sciences and healthcare classes, and they have some great ones for that. But there are all kinds of other wonderful video series as well. Studying and testing really are the same for online classes as for in-person classes. In fact, most in-person classes are now making use of online testing protocols. So testing with different lockdown browser or proctoring programs rather than taking the time and, thank goodness, not having to deal with paper. Dealing with paper tests and scantrons is really terrible. And I'm not at all sad that we don't have to deal with that anymore. So testing is pretty much the same, and you don't have a mandated class time. So you're going to have to create that structure for yourself. But it does give you a lot more flexibility. So the online classes are great if, for example, you work nights or maybe you're going to school part-time and you have a full-time job and you have family that you have to take care of. But the flexibility also comes with the requirement that you take a lot of accountability for yourself. So hopefully there were some good ideas there that are going to help you come up with things that you can use to keep yourself on track for the online classes. If you want to learn more about study tips and time management, I have an online class that I've created that also integrates mindfulness practices like meditation and different brain waves that help with studying and making projects and so forth. I'm going to put a link to that class in the description. Make sure you like and subscribe so that you can see the next presentation.